Hello and welcome to the most hated show in the black corner of YouTube. I am your host, the whiteologist, Mr. Blows Your Minds, and this is Black Minds News. Black Minds News is to report, articulate, transmit, communicate, articulate, deveil, uncode, deveil, spread the news, was by news video website, or quotes from publications. As I articulate this information, I ask the creator of the universe, be here, heart, soul, mind, and spirit. We, the today's children, offspring, and present generations, we who call ourselves BADOS, Black American descendant of slaves. Some say Black African descendant of slaves. Others say, well, they say what they say. We, the today's present generation, we give honor to our ancestors. And do you know what the motto of my show is? I'm never gonna tell you what I heard. I'm only gonna tell you what I know. Today's date is January the 18th, 2020. Have you heard? Well, I know I took a little time off since the last one, but some things took place what kept me from actually getting to keeping the promise that I said. So I'm kind of like promises I can't keep due to something that took place, but I want to make up for that. Based on some things that have taken place lately, with prisons, BADOS, the system, it seems like there has been a collage of incidents where I can put it together and let's see, does it match? They say if it must fit, you must have quit. If it don't fit, you got to quit, right? So, again, this is Black Minds News, the report show. Today's date again is January 18, 2020. Want to say what's good to the subscribers and everything else on that. You know what we're going to do I'm here from this point out, right? We're going to get it in. We're not going to hesitate. We're going to do it right off the bat. So stay tuned as we go into this dissertation about things that have happened in the last week or so, right? Pretty much since the 5th, right? Because I think I did a show on the 12th. So stay tuned as we get into this broadcast. All right. All right. So, hey, how's y'all doing? Again, I'm your host, Mr. Blows Your Minds, and welcome to Black Minds News Report. Again, today's date is January the 18th, 2020. First and foremost, what's good, fam? I know it's been a long time, but I told you I'm going to be doing it, but again, something came up. You know, I'm kind of like an absentee father that always saying, I'm coming, and you sitting in the window waiting, and the car's going by, and like, Daddy, that ain't daddy. You know what I'm saying? Because I'm here anyway. Better late than never. What else out here better to watch? Passerbys, if you should happen to pass by, this is the most hated show in the black corner of YouTube. Been in the business going on 8 years. But you couldn't tell based on the counts, right? So anyway, we thank you. Go down the aisle, see some things that you might like, happen to see something to make you feel some kind of way. Remember, the motto of the show is the truth. Don't need no partner. So let me go ahead and get into this one, y'all. This one here. Right? It's like this one here, right? Ooh, this one right here. So let's go ahead and let me do what I do, right? And let's go ahead and get it going, right? We ready to do this? Don't click it. Let's get it.
Recognizing Juneteenth, a day of remembrance, achievement, empowerment, and celebration of Black culture. The 212 Community Development Cooperation held a panel discussion this evening to discuss a tough issue, mass incarceration. During tonight's discussion, guest panelists shared information in the hopes of helping citizens better understand how mass incarceration affects different communities.
Fox Carolina's Jarvis Robertson was at that meeting. He's live for us now in Greenville with a recap. Jarvis?
That's right, guys. Mass incarceration is certainly a tough topic to talk about. Tonight's panel discussion wanted to make sure those who attended understood the effects that mass incarceration has and also how to better understand not becoming a statistic.
62% of the prison population consists of African Americans.
The alarming rate of how this moderator says mass incarceration has affected the African American community. According to census.gov, Black or African American people make up 27.3% of South Carolina's population. Wednesday evening, panelists gathered at Nicholtown Missionary Baptist Church to discuss how mass incarceration breaks down, affecting certain groups more than others.
Prisons are a culture, and it's not the culture that we live in every day. And it's not only because of the people that are there. It's the circumstances in which they're there. It's obviously they do contribute. It's how they are treated.
However, that's not the only factor for disproportionate arrest.
The connection between crime and poverty and education is undeniable. And so when we think about the dropout rate, we think about economic deprivation and lack of access and lack of opportunity. Unfortunately, minority groups are at a disadvantage.
Panelists at the meeting discussed complaints of racial bias during sentencing. One of the panelists says during her time of working in the juvenile court system, she witnessed corruption from judges when setting prison sentences for Black males. There was also a panelist who spent time in South Carolina prison system. He says that time was rough for him because he dealt with rejection from his friends and family.
Well, I went in, I was already a so-called menace to society. Then nobody wanted me around.
Now, one of tonight's hosts did say that invitations were extended to the Greenville Police Chief and also the Greenville County Sheriff's Office. However, no one from either agency showed up. Reporting live in Greenville tonight, I'm Jarvis Robertson, Fox Carolina, the 10 o'clock news.
All right, so we are back. So again, that's my first clip there, right? And the theme for today is going to be based on this story here for those who may not have seen nor heard of it, right? It's based on the fact that a Mississippi man gets 12 years in prison for possessing a cell phone in county jail. You know I'm going to say that again. Mississippi man gets 12 years in prison for possessing a cell phone in county jail, right? Now, you might have heard this story, maybe not. Again, it was done, I think, January 17th that I got it from the MSC News. And it's talking about this is going to be the theme for this show. Now, I'll give you somewhat of it, but again, we're going to come back to this at the end because I want to show you because, ironically, Mississippi is hot on the block, right? It's hot on their streets right now because a lot of this stuff has been in the news due to the simple fact that so much has happened. And just in the spirit of talking about, as the video talking about mass incarceration, and there's been things again that has been relevant to not just this particular story, but we're going to have to look at it from the entirety. And so in the entirety, we see that here was a Mississippi man who was being held at a county jail. Originally, it seemed like he was arrested for a misdemeanor charge, but they won't specify what that misdemeanor charge is, right? And so somehow in this situation, him being at the county jail, now again, I don't know, he already went through the process, been stripped. Those who know about being in the county, how to go through that whole procedure to make sure you got no kind of contraband and stuff like that. Somehow the individual name is Willie Nash, who's 39 years old. This supposed to happen in 2018, right? And somehow he had a cell phone, asked the CO or the guard whether he can get the phone charged. So the phone was confiscated from him. And then we'll get into the whole litany of the things that took place as how he ended up getting 12 years. And how this whole theme as to a person may hear me, depending on what side of the track you come on, whether you believe that a person can do something because the law states so. And because the law states so, it is lawfully because it's within the jurisdiction of the law. But can something be, can you be overcharged is the question. And if there is a such thing of being overcharged, who are disproportionately at a disadvantage to get this disproportionate sentence that they always seem to be handing out to people, right? So keep this in mind. This is where the theme is going to be in. Mississippi is the theme that what we're going to be going. Okay? Now, as the first video that I showed you, it was a Juneteenth kind of ceremony. But on the itinerary for that day, what they had was about mass incarceration. And you heard as they talked about some stats, about 62% of African Americans are in the prison system. 62%, right? Think about the number 62% when you have 13% of a population of 14%, right? Depending on where you go. And I kind of question myself of the validity of that, right? Because again, to those who've seen the last video that I did, and it talked about some stats about how let's say white women in the 50 states of the United States, right, that only 2 states white women were able to have positive numbers when it came to having babies. Utah, right, and South Dakota. And they said due to work is why a lot of them were running to South Dakota and the Mormons based on their religious practice, right? And so the question becomes, right, can the stats that was used and presented in that article stating that blacks who were in 12 states were having positive numbers and Hispanics being 29 states, how can a people stay at a percentage of 13, 14 when they're always constantly, even though, somebody leaves, somebody go, right? But was constantly producing positive numbers. And yet, what I'm about to show you here is going to shock a lot of people. Because until you see it, you don't really believe it. You heard the number 62%, but some people question about data. Some people just rather hear the rhetoric that an individual spew. But as of 2020, and for those, again, as I did my original video back in April 1st of 2014, I decided that I'm going to go back to the kind of investigative type of news to put everything and package it and then display according to what my findings show. And so what I want to show here, if I can get it to come up right here, because it looked like it's trying to do something else, is show you that according to the data that they display, now again, BADOS don't have a think tank database. They may have some people who are now trying to institute things like that. But that is not, you understand, where that is just not, we're going to get our data from if we're going to present it. But this is here, it's called the Sentencing Project. You might have heard this, right? And I had seen this, and based on this here, I'm going to show you live from off my screen, right? Because like I said, I've been, investing into my, making this as, best as I can. So let me go ahead and put it on the screen there, right? So you see the map on your screen there. Now, according to this data sheet, these data show the numbers of people incarcerated in state prisons per 100,000 residents in each state, right? Say that again. These data shows the number of people incarcerated in state prisons per 100,000 residents in each state. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to, let's say Washington, you may be able to see, you may not be able to see. But according to what it says there, Washington, prison population has 19,540 people. It says probation population, 93,953. Parole population is 11,131, right? They talk about the racial disparity in incarceration rate, black to white, 5-7. It says, right? So it's basically almost 6-1 there, right? It's almost 6-1 in the population there, incarcerated in Washington, right? So let's go to Oregon, right? Oregon says 15,200 prison population. 15,200 people are locked up in state prisons in Oregon. They said the probation population is 35,938. Parole population is 24,077. The black-white ratio is pretty much, again, almost 6-1. 6-1. And they even talk about the disfranchised population, right? Disfranchisement of African Americans is over 2.62%, right? 1,593 it says, or something like that, right? So I go to California. California has 129,920, right? That's prison population, 129,000 people locked up. You doing the math, right? They say the probation population in California is 238,911. Parole 86,053. 8-1. 8-1. Right? Disenfranchised African Americans is at 63,390. 3.4% in California. Right? That's a lot of people, right? So let's get over to maybe, it says Mississippi, right? Now it says Mississippi has 18,471 people, probation population of 36,333, parole population of 8,424, and 3-0 population black to white, right? Disenfranchisement, 127,130. 15, might as well say 16% disenfranchised African Americans in Mississippi. Okay, we're going to a place like Texas, right? Texas has 157,584 in the prison population. 378,514 probation population. Parole population is 111,892, right? 4-to-1 ratio, and 147,727 disenfranchised African Americans, which is 6.1%, right? Now, I could sit here and go through this whole, right? This whole state, this whole country, and it has all the data that Mr. Blows Your Mind did not make. It is for anybody, again, as I gave you, where you can go see. It's called the sentencingproject.org. You can go in there yourself and you can see these numbers for yourself, right? Now, as that video was talking about, that first video that you've seen, again, it was about something about a commemoration on Juneteenth, and then it was having to, talk about mass incarceration. So just on the few states that I showed you, starting from the West Coast and went over to Mississippi and Texas, I'm pretty sure those numbers substantiate themselves pretty much the same way. I done looked through it all, and, I got a lot here to kind of get out. So what they talked about, again, is he said 62% of African Americans. Based on those numbers you were seeing, with the high portion of BADOS being incarcerated. Now, again, what they say, when you want to say a statement that you're saying, like the warning. Well, what I'm saying is, somebody might hear me and get it twisted and think that black people back up people who when they do wrong. Am I saying that every individual that was on these statistics are not guilty of criminality and crime and murders? That's not what I'm saying at all. But can anything be 100%? Can most things be 90%? Is there a human element as into error? It says to errs to be human. So can there be errors in the populations of people who are being incarcerated massively? And it seems to be disproportionate to a people who look and are the same. Like something inherently is in them that everybody else in the country seems not to be participants of. And so you see that, again, this was held in Greensville, South Carolina. And they said also in Greensville, South Carolina, that 27% of the population was, and I'm going to go look on here what they said here, of South Carolina, right? Okay. Because they say, according to, I went back and you won't see it. I could put it on the screen just to give validation to it. But it says that, I think I accidentally switched it. Hold on, go back there. I switched it accidentally. And so it looks like South Carolina, that's Tennessee, come on. All right, get that right over there. Can you get that right, sir? All right, can we get it up there, sir? I know it's a little hard. There we go. 19,541 prison population, 33,652 for probation population. Parole population is 4,963. And as it said, there's, disfranchisement population of 47,000, but they said 38,000 of the population in South Carolina, 3.84%, are disenfranchised. 38 out of the 47 entire, and they're black. So when she said 62%, there you go. It's even higher than that according if you take that data right there, right? So, and again, there has been some earlier so-called science who will say that some things are inherently by certain individuals and people and ethnicities. And so somebody's trying to make that to be true. Now, as you heard that that white dude that was sitting there, that Chris, I think it's Scalzo, he had said that, you know, mass incarceration, he's saying it's kind of like a prison culture, right? You heard him say, right, prison culture, right? He says that the things that really kind of contributes to them is that, you know, yes, people are there and they have put themselves in situations where they go there, but some of the stuff has some contributions by, again, environment, you know, situations where people are, you know, let's say miseducated, because again, that sister came out and she said that, right? But he said that also there's the treatment, and then they talk about the disproportionate arrests, right? Like, let's say, for instance, that we have had reports come out, I think in California. Maybe I didn't do no show at that time because I was getting all this set up, right? But in California, it was talking about how, an article was talking about how the disproportionate rate of who are getting accosted in arrest seem to be at a wide margin versus other people. And it seems to be a trend in the whole country. And so you've seen that sister, that Dr. Angela Turner, she says that crime, poverty, is associated with education. And it's undeniable. So anybody who has lack of education will have the lack of access to jobs, a disadvantage to opportunity, and that we heard a term not too long ago talking about pipelines to prison. And so if there is a boogeyman design to get you in line so that you could be next on what we have seen recently, right? And so we have to be vigilant and we have to talk about this because it's alarming. And it has been alarming. We just came off of the 400-year commemorative our count with those who became the Virginia Company of 1619. So we're going on 401 year. We're 400 years and a month and so, 18 days or so, right? And so we see something spiritually has come up and trying to shine a light, and there's going to be some people who are going to take this situation and be like, you know, these guys are criminals. I don't understand what you're trying to advocate for. But the point be is everybody who you see a criminal. Is everybody? Or is it just some people, right? So let me go ahead and let me get you to the next part. And we should be back after that. Let me see if I can get everything going right. And let's get it going. Let's get it.
A high-profile lawsuit in St. Louis. The city's chief prosecutor is now accusing the city and the police union of a racist conspiracy to block her reforms. Today, a group of prosecutors coming forward to support her, but her critics tonight say she's just not good at her job. ABC's Steve Osunsami from St. Louis.
This is the woman in the center of the storm tonight. Kimberly Gardner is St. Louis's first black prosecuting attorney, and in a bombshell lawsuit, she accuses the city and the police union of a racist conspiracy aimed at stopping her from doing her job.
This suit is so important because the people of the city of St. Louis who represented me will not be intimidated.
Here's another first. Black prosecutors from across the country, all of them women, came to St. Louis today to support her.
Every prosecutor here has had similar experiences to Kim.
Gardner is part of a new wave of elected prosecutors who've pledged to make the justice system more fair to people of color. She immediately stopped prosecuting small marijuana offenses and is refusing to try cases involving more than 40 arresting officers who she feels aren't trustworthy. But her critics point to her high-profile case against the governor. An investigator she hired is charged with perjury and evidence tampering. Gardner eventually dismissed the charges against the governor, but a special prosecutor is now looking into her office.
There's no way for her to prosecute criminals now, and I think she's destroyed her ability to be prosecutor.
The police union tonight rejects being called racist and says that this prosecutor cares more about criminals than cops. David?
Steve Osunsami.
All right, so we are back, right? So you got a chance to see there, the sister there, Kimberly Gardner, out of St. Louis, considered to be the first African-American prosecutor, seems to be claiming a charge that, matter of fact, I think she's claiming a charge of racism. Matter of fact, I think she's trying to do the Ku Klux Klan Act of 1871, saying that based on her reform that she's trying to do as a prosecutor, that it seems like people are doing everything to keep her from doing her job, right? And so, is that true? Can you work for massa and have an agenda that is a righteous agenda? Like, let's say, for instance, that there's a lot of people who believe in politics and believe that voting and putting, constituents that will represent the people who vote you in, and they will go and do a job trying to, get part of the pie and represent in what is considered to be civil and constitutional and all that other good stuff, right? And in theory, and how you are taught that, that's the way it's supposed to work. But sometimes in actuality, in practice, it don't seem to go hand in hand. And so we see that there has been a slew of sisters who have become prosecutors who are trying to do reform by being prosecutors, which means if you got a charge by the state, it is the prosecutor who will determine whether you're charged or not. And so accordingly, as you've seen in that video right there, let's see, this sister here, Kimberly Gardner, they said right there on the screen, said refusing to try cases involving 40 arresting officers. Now think about that. As a person who may have been arrested before, when you have more than one or two officers and they're all arresting you, and let's say those responding officers weren't there at the call, and the initial officer, whether it was one or two, who initiated, whether right or wrong, and then you have other officers come, the credibility automatically is going to slide on the scale towards who? Police officers, right? Now again, Mr. Blowsmind's statement is, or claim is, not against police officers. We're talking about justice. If there's such a word that you have taught in the minds and hearts of the people who go to school and educated in this land, and this word that is being used, then we must say that, according to what the definition is, it doesn't discriminate when it says, but if we're going to hold you to the word, it shouldn't discriminate. Anyone can be afforded, and regardless to what position you hold, what side of the line you on, this is what it is, then that's what it shall be. But again, as we started off showing the disproportionateness and disenfranchisement of a particular ethnicity of people in this land, are we going to say those percentages of those who are incarcerated with this ethnicity and race of people, that's 100% across the board? Then we would be lying to ourselves. So in order to have some kind of balance, you're going to need somebody in the position who could be in, as you see a Kimberly Gardner is in. And it seems like you have her, you have the other sister was, what her name is, Marilyn Mosby. That was the one. Matter of fact, I think I can show you her picture. Wasn't that the sister that had something to do with the, yeah, she's from Baltimore, right? Right, that was the one okay, yeah, I'm going to pull that up. Let me go ahead and show her face, though. Let me show her face, right? Everybody remember this sister, right? Right? That sister went on there because of Freddie Gray situation, right? And how he ended up being arrested and somehow, getting died, the whole nine, right? Oh, they say a bumpy ride, right? Okay. Y'all must got some real tore up ass streets there, right? But anyway, she, again, went after those to prosecute those. And what ended up happening is those in the union and those in the boys in blue decided, no, you ain't here to go against us. Now, see, again, it's the word that they say, justice, according to the assemblage that you hold as somebody blind with a scale, these are just words. Because in practice, when somebody tried to play that game, it's at a different scale. And so the thing is, these sisters that you see here who believe in by being in positions of prosecutors and stuff like that, because these are the sister that was in Chicago, right? And that's where the whole Jussie Smollett situation took place, right? And who don't know in the background who was pulling strings? For all you know, allegedly could be the Obamas could have had some ties in it. You never know what was all in there. And who's to say that when white people are in those positions that deals aren't being made? We done seen somebody say, what is it? Alphalenza? What is the hell that? The rich boy disease, right? Affluenza, whatever the hell it was, right? He said because, they didn't know that. So he could drive, kill, and he was off, right? And he just got rearrested not too long ago on some other stuff, right? So it happens, right? But see, by what y'all say reform is being the prosecutor, because I heard somebody talk about another person who was a prosecutor and said that when a prosecutor is, being terminated from his position, he or her position, that the individual itself is a bad prosecutor. Now, let's listen to the logic of that. If you say that somebody's job is a prosecutor and they don't prosecute, maybe the cases that you have don't merit to be incarcerated. Can that be so? Can there be cases where what happens initially again on the street between the individual and the police officers Because once police have in their mind that they're going to arrest you, you're going to have to see the judge. Unless you can work again, you can find a medium ground between you where you two can work something out. If this one doesn't have, if it's not on something merited to just come in and do the job, if there's some misunderstanding that we could work out, then let it be so. But then there's sometimes when that's present, but even though this individual say, "No, man, I'm taking you in because I don't like you. Whatever, something about you I just don't like," right? And so what end up happening is you got to go see the judge, 3 hots in the cot, and the whole 9. So people have started to get together, trying to use the political process, trying to put people in certain positions, and these sisters have won to get in these positions. And as you heard in this video, you heard that an individual say that Kimberly Gardner is not for the police. She's not for the union. She's for the criminals. Well, justice is justice, right? Isn't justice justice, or is it just us? And regardless to what you do, if you get me caught up, well, smack my hand and let them go, right? But as she said, I'm not going to sit here and prosecute. When I see 40 of y'all on one individual, I don't trust the fact that it's going to come out and be exact in the fact. I'm just not going to trust that. And so that says that you now have to be apprehensive about what you do or how you're going to finish your arrest. And nobody wants their hand checked. Nobody wants the watchers to be watched, right? And so somebody's saying that a prosecutor who don't prosecute is not good if they fire him, and maybe they fire you because maybe they're not in there doing, again, according to the statistics show, that your people are being mass incarcerated at numbers that other people have no really data to substantiate that there's a disproportionate for their people. But when it comes to you, somebody who becomes a prosecutor and say that the person is not coming in there and prosecuting somebody and they not doing it and they terminating them for that, that's like saying, Master say, I don't give a damn. You get in here, you get them down, you incarcerate. It ain't in here about right and wrong. It's about the numbers and filling these seats and you understand? So here you got black women who are trying to do something in the name of that, and there's something that ties in this situation here with this sister here, right? Because this sister had got herself in a situation, maybe not on her own, but somebody may have looked at it. This was an opportunity. This is how I looked at it, right? So let me show you something. Let me go ahead and get this going, because I should have had this up here already. I don't understand why I don't got it. Hello, wake up, you technician over there. Kind of slow. I'm dragging, waiting on you. You get what I'm saying? So, in her situation, for those who probably don't know what took place in this, is that she's going to go ahead, and there's a governor that was in the state of St. Louis, right? And what happened is, let me see if I got this. Let me go ahead and pull this up. And so the governor of the state somehow got in a situation where, you know how it is, man and a woman. And somehow a photo is of a person who is nude. Somehow it could be trying to get onto a computer, and person said either they found out about it and somehow this information got out, and then they end up prosecuting the governor, right? The governor is now going to be prosecuted for the negligence or the case that somebody decided to say that he did them wrong. Now, through my reading of history and understanding the beginning when this inception of, when I said the Virginia company, the governor was the one they set up originally that worked back to the queen, right? Or to the king. And this is where this is how they end up doing the overthrow in this country, because they was using the fact that it was being slow about getting things done, and the process, it was dragging. And so they like, well, the governor over here with us, and you know what I'm saying? So some things got worked up, and that's how the whole thing is overthrown this and end up snatching this from the queen and the king, right? Anyway, that's another story for another time. So I'm saying that the governor, based on the history in this land, there's only been, on one hand, I don't think you could put 5 fingers on one hand in this country there's been a governor in this country. Well, that means something, right? You have to be appointed by somebody high up. Yeah, I know your elections and so forth, you going in, you picking, but I don't think all that work the way you think it do. Because once you understand what charters is and all, going back with the king and all, there's some family business here. You get what I'm saying? And sometimes you put people in there that fool the people and you don't be realizing that mug is family, right? You know, AKA Barry Soweto, right? So anyway, so what happened is Kimberly, or Miss Gardner here, and she hired a individual who used to be an ex-FBI man. Right? Let me go ahead and see if I can go ahead and pop that up there for you, right? Let me go ahead and show you this, right? Right? You see that up there, right? St. Louis prosecutor investigator in Greeton's case charged with perjury, evidence tampering. Now, this individual that you see here, right, was the individual that was hired by the attorney, the prosecutor, Kim Gardner. It was to help her in this criminal investigation of the Missouri governor, Eric Greitens, right? Because he was facing, again, charges, as I was telling you, that it's something to do with a girl and some kind of position he was in, somehow nude photo of her, and that's how that whole thing went, right? And this individual that you see on your screen here, which his name is William Tisby, he's a former FBI agent. Mr. Tisby, according to what they had said, he perjured and he tampered with evidence. Now, think about the high profile of trying to prosecute someone. It's kind of like going on with this, what they call impeachment. And they're going to go through the formality, but at the end, ain't nothing happening. Because his boys holding the last vote. You understand? The Senate part, that's his boys. He ain't going nowhere. They ain't gonna stamp him that. So that's all. You have to ask them, what was this all about? So anyway, here's the same situation. It would probably be different if Kimberly Gardner wasn't black. If she was white and he was white, I'm not saying that it can't still happen, but I ain't gonna let y'all do this. So based on what took place, right, with this individual here, Mr. Tisby, he ended up getting 7 felony counts, multiple perjury charges, and his conduct during the investigation was a factor in prosecutors dropping the felony invasion of privacy charges against the governor. His conduct. So based on what happened after they start charging him, reversing what, again, y'all, do you want the whole story to this? Do you want the story to this? Right? So, all right. She hired this individual, Tisby. So again, there was a individual, her name was KS, they don't give her a real name, right? And so they doing the deposition, and somehow those who know about depositions, when you have your deposition and then there's the break. Now the stuff that's getting in there, that's supposed to be confidential between all those parties included. You don't call somebody based on what you got on the deposition to ask them, and then, know what to ask when you go back in the deposition, to have them at the deposition. So again, everything there, that's like your testimony that you're going to be held to. And somehow, according to the article, it talks about was, taking notes, denied, making phone calls. They end up getting phone records and everything. Now, remember, he's the governor. Now, there's a link that I got on here at the end. For those who stay to the end of the video, I want you to click on that link, and this is how they are thinking of the governor. That's these two right here. This is what these two are thinking, and you might enjoy it. If you do, give me a comment later on about that. But check that out. That's going to be a special for those who stay to the end. Or just go to the link now, and you can do that now. So anyway, so somehow, again, you're going with somebody with that kind of profile, and maybe somebody had an idea that, man, this is be a good fish for me in my resume. Man, I got a governor. Man, I'm finna, what? Just like in Illinois, when he got Glaubo, what's his name? Gorbich, right? And based on when you look at what it was about, talking about selling Obama's seat, and really, was it really what it was, or was it just people who were after him, and this was getting them a notch? I wonder all the people who had some ties with that, what they is today, and what position they holding today. So let's just say in the chain of understanding about how, those corporate business and how all that worked, and judicial business, all that, like police officers, I guess, the more arrests, you get a chance to move up in rank, departments, and so forth. Won't be any difference with those prosecuting. You'll become a judge, right? Like lawyers become judge and move up. So he used to be an ex-FBI individual, and now he, so maybe this was going to get him to something by having this on his record, and we're going to be able to do something. So he had his own company. But accordingly, the way how this whole thing went down, it didn't go down the way it's supposed to went down. And so, in hindsight, based on what she had been doing or trying to establish, what she said is reform, they found them a back door by using this individual here, right? This the individual they used in the back door, and tying her to the fact that they believe she has knowledge that what he did, I guess you would consider that unethical. There's certain things he was supposed to, either disclose or hand over. And when he was questioned about it, according to what they say, but you know how it is, there's three sides to the truth. There's his side, their side, and there's the truth. I'm going to say that again. It's three sides to the truth, right? It's their side, your side, and the truth. According to him and his lawyer, said he will be 100% exonerated. Well, everybody who says that don't always, because again, the high profileness of this case. So based on his performance and the lack thereof, and the things that he did not hold as fiduciary as his obligations, allowed the governor to be able to step out, resign, and step away. But he left, I guess, a time bomb for both of them, based on the lack their professionalism held by the two. Now they're going to come after her to prosecute based on what this individual that you see in your screen did. So she's fighting on behalf and saying, look, and that's what you've seen in the video when you're seeing all them, Mosby, and all the rest of the prosecutors around the country, because I think there's about 4,500 prosecutors in this country, and I think it's about only like 65 who are black. Now, I'm saying that again. About 4,500 prosecutors in this country, there's only about 65 black prosecutors. So you can see why the numbers being disproportionately being locked up is because you don't have no representation. And I'm not even saying that prosecutors aren't really representations of you, but somebody who could, again, understand rationale, look at situations even with your record, and make a determination whether I'm going to give you the full, whether I'm going to charge you at all. And all that matters, right? All that matters. And so she's saying that she wants to have, you know, the 1871 Ku Klux Klan Act, saying that I'm sitting here amongst, well, I can't get a fair trial. And let's say something about St. Louis. Didn't St. Louis in 2015 of March by the Department of Justice, wasn't they considered to be found what she's claiming? You know what I'm saying? What was in there, Loretta Lynch, right? When they came up, when they had sent that department in there about the whole thing with the, what was the killer? It was your brother there. Oh man, slipped my mind right now. But y'all know what I'm talking about, right? So, Michael Brown, right? And so, that's what she's fighting. And Mosley said, we all as prosecutors know what she's saying is true. That they trying to come in there and do reform by not putting brothers to the full again, marijuana charges and reversing and stuff like that, and not charging to the full. And when there's so many police officers, they say, well, shit, how do I know if this shit is going to be, 100 by y'all? Because, again, when you've been at your job, you find what the holes are. Whatever job you might be in, you know what the holes are. You know how people really get down. Now, people coming in there patronizing and, customers, they don't understand all that. You know what I'm saying? You might come in there and say, hey, go and buy some food, and say you work somewhere, some food, and somebody come in there and say, hey, man, something wrong with my brother. You like, who back there working? Oh, him? Yeah, it's possible. Her? Oh, yeah, it's possible. Let me change that, right? So that happens, right? And so based on what she's saying or what Mosley said, that when they go in there as prosecutors, they supposed to have full jurisdiction as to what the call is, but people are not liking their call. Again, as he said, the police said, you ain't here for us. You here for criminals. But the word supposed to be justice. See? So somebody feel like we above it. And we don't like what you're doing. You stick to master script and you can keep the job. You can't stick to the job, or can't stick to the script, you can't have this job. So there's a lot of people, again, who don't understand that when you start talking like that, oh man, you know that racial stuff. Disprove what I say, right? You can disprove what I say, right? That's the most easiest way to do it. Just disprove what I say, right? So, again, the theme is, as we talk about what's happening in Mississippi, right? Well, check this out. How about this? Let's see if Mr. Blow Your Mind making it up, right? Let's see if I'm making it up, right? Let me go do this on here. Let me go ahead. Let me do this for you right quick. And then we're going to go ahead and do this, and I shall be right. And did I do that right? I don't think I did that right. Did I do that right? No, I didn't do it right. Okay, yeah, all right. All right, let's do this. Let's do this.
Welcome back to CBS This Morning. I'm Gail King with Anthony Mason and Tony DeCopel. Calls for prison reform are rising after a spike in violence in correctional facilities in Mississippi. Over the last 10 days, a total of 5 inmates were killed in different state prisons. And at a troubled site called Parchman Farm, 2 violent inmates managed to escape from there last week. Well, they have since been caught. Mark Streisman is outside of that facility. But Mark, this is really part of a national issue, right?
It is, Gail, very much so a national issue. America has the world's highest incarceration rate, but staffing at federal prisons has shrunk in recent years, and critics consider Mississippi's prison system to be among America's most troubled, underfunded, understaffed, and violent. Inmates here at the Parchman facility say it's not the guards who run the place, it's the gangs.
Inmates using contraband cell phones allegedly shot these images, although CBS News hasn't confirmed that independently. This is Parchman Farm, home to Mississippi's death row. and lately a killing field for warring prison gangs. 3 inmates were murdered here in 3 days.
My little brother stabbed, beat up, just in a cell, and then they putting them in cells with the rivalry. How could you do that?
At least one lawsuit alleges barbaric prison conditions, rats, open sewage, abusive guards, corruption. Yet since 2014, Mississippi has slashed funding and staffing. Gangs like the Vice Lords and Black Gangster Disciples have thrived inside. Mississippi Governor Phil Bryant.
We are going to stop it. We have it under control as best we can.
But Mississippi's prison staffing is in crisis. Almost half the roughly 1,300 corrections positions in 3 major facilities remain unfilled. Salary is one issue. Even with a degree, guards start around $26,000, roughly the national poverty level for a family of 4. 65% of the state's corrections officers are women.
Why are 65% of the guards women?
Because men don't want the jobs.
Jerry Mitchell is the dean of Mississippi's investigative reporters. He has looked into its prison problems for years.
Are the inmates, the gangs, really in charge inside?
They are in charge of where you sleep, where you eat, how much you get to eat. You have towers that are empty, that used to have guards that don't have guards now. And what do?
State officials admit the gangs are a problem, but they deny that the gangs are out of control. Mississippi state troopers have been working here in Parchman in recent days. Some of them told us the regular corrections officers stopped coming to work because it was too dangerous inside. Anthony?
No, that's quite a picture, Mark. And we understand that the prison also has corruption problems?
Corruption among guards, Anthony, has been a problem here for years, maybe not surprising, given how little these folks are paid. In return, the inmates get drugs, cigarettes, and cell phones, the cell phones that took the images in that story we just put on. But without those cell phones and those images, we might not have such a clear picture of what's happening inside.
Yeah, and it's not a pretty picture, Mark. Thank you very much.
Head off the table. On Shabby, I got a bullet shell to prove it. Water don't work. No hot water. No cold water. Toilet won't flush. Lights won't come on. Mold growing on top of all the ceiling. We ain't got no mattresses. It's dark, lights out. Everything in business. What shell is? Hey, let me see that shell right now. Hey, let me see it real fast. I never see that shit around there. Self-medicated, they got a mental attention. Then the shell they shot me with. 12 gauge shell. Let me see it back again. Self-medicated, they clean my own up. Damn. So just fucked up with me. I'm laying on the floor. Eagle flies, the ventilator, hand behind my head, all this. Behind my nose, he ripped 2 headshots. There you go. Ripped 2 headshots.
All right, so we are back, right? So that has been some of the biggest news that's out here that went over that Mississippi is a parchment, right? Parchment farm, right? We say plantation, right? And again, I think that's a max security, death row. I think that's what that is, right? So I think that's what they try to undergird and say that based on that in itself, this ain't news, right? What do you think they're supposed to be doing, right? They're prisoners, right? And so, you know, a lot of news over this period of time have been talking about again due to something I couldn't get back in due to after I did the one, something happened I couldn't get back in. Maybe a little late, but it's not, you know, again, it's just my version of what I'm seeing over here. And I just try to put the pieces together as a puzzle. And so it looks like that, you know, I'm going to play this too, because I think I got to play this too. Because as I showed in the beginning with the data and showing you by state and the mass numbers that are in there, ironically, that the situation that ended up happening in Mississippi and the individuals who end up dying that brought, and the cell phone footage that brought the attention out there. Now, that cell phone footage that we're talking about is not the same cell phone as the beginning of which is the theme to why I'm bringing everything right now, right? It's not the theme to it. And so you end up seeing the news being brought for those who might have seen it, may not had. Let's look at some of the stuff that was said in this video, right? Now, accordingly, when you run in this system here, and let's look at people in the facility, right? They're showing the Mississippi prisons. You see Mississippi State Penitentiary, Central Mississippi Correctional Facility, South Mississippi Correctional Institution. It says 662 of 1,352 guards positions unfilled. I'm going to say that again. 662 of the 1,352 guard positions are unfilled. So that is about just about 700. So you don't even have half of the guards needed in those penitentiaries. And then you see the stat that they gave about $27,000 a year, right? Under those type of conditions, environments that you say that the gangs are running and ruling, right? So did you notice another stat that they showed in there? Did you see that in that report it talked about this? It said that 65% of guards are women. I'm going to say that again. 65% of the guards are women. So that means women are in these prison systems in Mississippi doing things to maintain, to have some employment, but their lives could be in danger. And I understand of equal opportunity. Women are just as good as men. Are these conditions where you would want a woman to be in? Yes, we know we need jobs. And we know this is Mississippi, right? Matter of fact, Mississippi, so honorary, right? To the fact that it, on Martin Luther King Day, it shares Martin Luther King Day with Robert E. Lee Day. They don't even say, I think in 2018, 17 or 18, it was like, they just say Great American Day. They ain't even say, they won't, they trying to separate the day. But they say, well, they both, they say, well, Robert E. Lee is born on January 18th, and King is on the 15th, so it's like, we're celebrating him too. You get what I'm saying? So, 65% of these women that are in there probably look like the people who are in there, right? And so, only one could imagine some of the things that go on up in there, right? And so, one thing I noticed they started talking about there, they were saying, again, who are up in there, they say, well, it's vice lords and black gangster disciples. Now, those from the Midwest, Chicago in particular, know that that's vice lords and black gangster disciples from, right? So, then I think if I'm not talking about those the black gangsters, I think the founder, I think he's from down there. So, they done migrated, and then, what was up in the cities had done been infiltrated into the countries. And so now they down there like that, right? So, But it's not so much of that, too. It's just, again, as the one sister who said, the doctor who talked about, direct connection to poverty and economics and crime is what? Education, lack thereof in having. So we see a lot of, again, these disproportionate disenfranchised BADOS. What do you expect? Where's the opportunities? Again, people have not even wanted to address the fact of what didn't happen. There has been no generational wealth to be transferred to none, many, most. So again, survival, you do what it takes. Am I condoning it? Hell no, I'm not condoning that. But I'm just saying, what other opportunities does one have? Everybody else just say we could do like, but maybe your situation isn't like my situation. Your history ain't like my history. And that seems like to be the biggest gorilla elephant in the room, but everybody will talk about everything around it other than that. So in those type of conditions, it said that you got rats, open sewage, abusive guards, corruptions. And that's all Mellicott cocktails for, as they say, barbaric conditions. So you concrete barbarity, right? Rats create, diseases, sicknesses. Open sewage creates the same thing. Unsanitary environments. As you've seen in the video, the brother was trying to show no water, no lights. And, maybe a lot of these private prisons, again, maybe, what's going on with that? People ain't getting paid? What's going on? Or is it just so greedy to the fact that the conditions that are so poor and so hazardous, who gonna work there? And so, again, as you seen that one sister sat there and talking about how her brother got, into some fisticuff, and then after the word, they put him in the same cell with the people he had the fisticuffs. So what kind of nonsense is that? That's your life. Well, that's not so sad, so glad. They ain't me, right? That's how they looking at it. You figure it out. Seen the brother on the video had buckshot. Somebody 12 gauge him inside. He inside the cell. He got 12 gauge. Now again, the old saying they say is everybody black in the jail is innocent, right? Yeah, everybody black. You innocent. But man got a 12 gauge. One got a regular shell, right? Well, I guess one dropped. Somebody picked it up, right? So I got shot with I got a 12 gauge in my back. I'm shot me dead in my back, right? And so it's like, when you start to get from the inside and it got out, right? This is what you end up getting here. Let me show you this interview of what took place. And this is how you get this interview here. All right, so let's go ahead and get this, and I shall be right back with some more dissertations about this. Check this out. I'll be right back. Hold on, get it right.
Two American rap moguls are suing the Mississippi Department of Corrections following the deaths of 5 inmates this month alone. Yo Gotti and Team Rock, the philanthropy group under Jay-Z's company Rock Nation, have provided lawyers for 29 inmates who claim the deaths are a result of a guard shortage and abysmal conditions inside the prison. These are just some of the photos taken from inside Mississippi State Penitentiary. The prison has a long history of violence and inadequate living conditions. In 2018, 16 inmates were killed in a prison riot. Recording artist Yo Gotti is here with me now to break down the lawsuit and the conditions inside Mississippi's prison system. Thank you so much for joining us. So this has been a long-standing problem in Mississippi. I know we've got these recent deaths, but it's nothing new. You're not from Mississippi. Jay-Z is not from Mississippi. You're from Tennessee, right? Memphis. So why participate in this lawsuit? Why was it important for you?
Well, Memphis is like, Mississippi is like a street over. Like if you cross a red light,
right.
cross one red light, you're in Mississippi. So it's really like, you know, our backyard to our hometown, like our tri-state area. And it's just, you know, inhumane situations, you know, knowing people that have been in prison before, you know, and just thinking everybody should be treated like a human is, you know, our reason.
Yeah. Can we talk about some of the conditions that you found the most egregious when you started to hear stories? What sort of struck you?
I mean, lack of food, the way people sleeping on the floors, the lack of staff, and so it's really unsafe. You know what I mean? They can't really control the prison.
This is not new for Mississippi, though. There have been other lawsuits. The ACLU has sued. Families of people inside the prisons have sued. Why this method? Why do you think this is the way to go?
I mean, I think we just got to do what we got to do. You know, we're in the process right now creating a rally down there so the voices can be heard, you know what I mean, making sure that they feel us, that they feel that, you know, we trying to do something about it, we trying to make a change in it. So, like I said, we're in the process right now of setting up a whole rally down there to make sure the words be heard.
Do you think, is it that politicians, lawmakers, they don't care?
I don't know, but they should, if that's the case.
Because a huge part of the problem with the prison system down there that many have complained about is that there's a basic lack of funding. And it's, you know, there are public prisons, there are private prisons, they're just not putting enough money into the infrastructure, they're not paying the guards, so they don't have enough guards working, so even the people working there are scared for their lives. You have prisoners who are going in for nonviolent crimes and finding themselves in very violent situations. And it's been an ongoing issue. What do you want the governor to hear from you? Because I just heard the governor, he was asked about who was responsible for some of these deaths, and he said the prisoners were responsible for the deaths.
It's a lack of responsibility. You know, it's a lack of responsibility. Everybody's still human. They can't live in inhumane situations. You know, some of the people that's in there, you got to remember, some people may be criminals and some people are awaiting trial. Some people in there wrongly convicted. Some people can't afford bond. You know, so I don't think that's their fault.
I know that Mississippi has been working, because it had been a 3 strikes you're out state, and which means a lot of people ended up in prison for life, sometimes for nonviolent crimes. They've been working to reduce the prison population, and they have somewhat, but they haven't reinvested the money in the prison system.
Yeah, we got to figure out something they have to do about that, you know. We just can't have people sleeping on the floors, not getting food, not getting water. You know, it's supposed to be a rehabilitation program. You know, not where people lose their lives at.
So how did this all come about? Did you approach Jay-Z, or how did it all sort of develop?
I think similar passions and it been important to both of us. And when I first started hearing about it, being there close to my home state, I immediately reached out.
And what was Jay-Z's reaction?
Super supportive.
He's a busy guy.
Yeah, the whole team rock. You know, I think we want the same outcome, and that's the focus.
Is it your role as an artist to get involved in these sort of discussions about politics and this type of conversation? Because, you know, some people are going to say, what do you know? You know, you have a great life. You know, you've got money, you travel probably on private jets. What do you know about this?
Well, me personally, I know a lot about it, because, I grew up in a family where my brother was in prison. My father was in prison. My aunties was in prison. So I'm very familiar with it. I've been to many prisons to visit family members, friends in prison, so I'm very close to it, me, myself, personally. And I don't think it has to do with an artist, just being a human being in general and seeing what's happening, it should affect you.
What does a prison stay do to a person, depending on their experience? A bad prison versus a decent prison. What does it do to a person when they come out?
I think every person is different. I think what we hope we do it is you'll never go back to it. You know what I mean? Hopefully you learn your lesson, you get rehabilitated. You know what I'm saying? That ain't a place where no human want to spend their time at. And you never go back there. Hopefully that's what happens.
Because it's easy to dismiss convicts, prisoners. It's easy to say, well, don't spend the money there, spend it on healthcare or education or something else, because they shouldn't behave the way, you don't break the law if you don't want the punishment. And for people who say that, what do you say?
Again, like, it's a court system, and who to say who really broke the law, who really didn't. I don't know who, what I'm saying? Like, it's a lot of people that did and didn't in the same exact facility. So the way the facility should be ran, got to be up to, it's real humans there.
Well, it's good that you're shining a light on this. It is needed. You are not the first, but hopefully this will be the last. And with the star power behind it, hopefully it'll make a big difference. Yo Gotti, thank you.
Thank you.
All I want to say is that they don't really care about us. All I want to say is that they don't really care about us. Right? So you got to see there that came out because it had been in the news that Jay-Z and Yo Gotti had filed a lawsuit against Mississippi prisons officials on behalf of the inmates. Matter of fact, I think it was 29 inmates that they were probably representing from Mississippi who claim that their lives are in peril, right? Now, based on some of the stuff I had already just showed you, you've seen some footage from inside where an individual was shot in his back with a 12 gauge. You've seen the other media clips, some of the stuff that took place, right? And we can see the inhumane conditions. They talk about the rampant violence that is happening. Is this cause and effect when one is caged like rats with unlivable conditions, no water, rations of food, hostile environment, right? And lack thereof supposedly authority to regulate or referee, right? And so we see that the suit that was filed back in Tuesday in the federal court by New York lawyer Alex Spiro, he's the one who was going to represent the Empire State of Mind rapper and his Rock Nation label. Now, the claim is that inmates in the state prison are dying because Mississippi has failed to fund its prisons, resulting in prisons where violence reigns because prisons are understaffed. As I showed so far already in the data that they presented, which is 65% of the staff members who are present. Remember, they said 662 of 1,352, right? And you said 662. If you said that the bigger portion of that 600, so we're going to say about 400 of that, 300, high 300, 400 is women, then yeah, you get what I'm saying? That you're going to have these conditions, right? But are the other factors in the environment breeding this as well, right? And it would be considered if someone came into your home from the state and found toilets not working, no running water, no electricity. Shit, they just seeing old plates and shit, the food in there and all that stuff. They taking your child, right? They're going to say living inhabitable conditions, inhumane. And you going to jail. But what happens when the jail is doing the same damn thing, right? So we see based on those from the black corner, and we know that some people have looked at what Jay-Z has done with the NFL, and we didn't see Jay-Z. We did see Young Jock, right? Yeah. I mean, I said right. My fault. Yo Gotti, I meant to say. My fault, y'all. Yo Gotti was the individual that you seen in the interview. We don't see Jay-Z, but he is being the voice that is, because, again, he's from Louisiana. Say, you know, that's just across the street from me, because the interviewer going to say, well, why are you concerned, right? First of all, I'm a black man. That's why I'm concerned. I'm a black man in America with a history, long lineage of that which is BADOS in this land. And for other people who looking outside window shopping, they only say, it's criminals, and they get what they get because they shouldn't be in there. But again, we understand there are a lot of different elements involved in with a lot of us being incarcerated. And again, as the beginning of this video started, I showed you statistics, data of states, and they showed the incarceration numbers, and they had the high proportionate or disproportionate of us being in there. So to ask him why he has any feelings or relevance, and to say, what do you have? You got money and all this. He said, well, hold on, wait a minute. I come out of a family. I didn't grow up with money. You know, father was in there, aunties in there. I know about jail, business, and so forth. But, you know, it's called a rehabilitation center. It's not sit there for people to kill. Now, again, it's going to happen. That's what happens in penitentiaries. You know, that happens. But when they go up like this, what is the cause and effect that is having it? And because it does spilled out and got into the public, now that the light has been shined on it, a lot of people are not liking it. And so we see that Jay-Z and Yo Gotti is taking the opportunity to now, in a way, this is them. Maybe this is some repair somewhat for Jay-Z's reputation and Yo Gotti helping him. And so they decided they're going to go ahead and do this. Now, accordingly, they said there was 5 prisoners who was incarcerated in Mississippi had died as a result of prison violence. And Department of Corrections and Commissioner Felicia Hall, I think she is a sister, and the Superintendent Marshall Turner. I'm pretty sure they're black too. And they said that these deaths are a direct result of Mississippi's utter disregard for people as incarcerated and their constitutional right. Now, again, depending on what side of the coin is, there's going to be those people who will hear, see these types, and all they see is black individuals, the stereotype, incarcerated. They don't care. It's kind of like, he's going to pipe my mom. You know, I'm going to rape my, right? Remember he said, just lock him up. I don't care what got to, I don't, remember that Joe Biden? Remember that whole thing? I done did that video, right? He didn't care what cause and effects that got you in here. We just need you locked away, keep away from my damn people, right? Now, those who are innocently caught up due to a simple fact that maybe you got some bad cops that are getting individuals out here, well, hopefully the justice systems get you up out of there, right? And so, based on those deaths that took place, they said it is the culmination of years of severe understaffing and neglect at the Mississippi prison. So this isn't recently that they've been understaffed. They've been running. You know, a lot of times what you have is you don't have, you know, like you could work somewhere. And the capacity may be that to have this fully optional, let's say it's 50 people. But if I can get a staff that can run this place at 20, right? Let's say 22, 25. That's 25 salaries I'm not paying. So what happens is that there's a bonus at the end. Like there's money that, again, to say there's allotted budget that is allotted every month for, the function for, employment and stuff like that. But if you can cut back as, again, being a supervisor is kind of like being an overseer, knowing how to crack that whip and get the most potential and work out of your those employees under you. That's right. A lot of people who are supervisors be assholes, right? They ain't got to say it like it is. I tell they just be assholes and they be in the position. That may not be you just because you might be one hearing me, but you got to be a certain different kind of cut. You can't have camaraderie with your employees because otherwise you think they're going to think you soft. So you cracking the whip. So here it is. They running understaffed for years. They've been doing that because why? It's profitable. Not just that the numbers, again, because prisons is kind of like, again, labor. Somebody getting paid. There's some products being made, but other people in between are figuring out, trying to get out ways to get money. So if we can run this understaffed, if I can find some brave souls to get up in here, then at the end, I get a cut because my department, the supervisors, we get a cut. So maybe somebody might be doing it at the expense of people who are in there. Again, could be, you could be, again, as Yo Gotti said, you could be in there as, wrongful conviction. And you fighting that, trying to bond, you can't bond out. You don't got the money. There's a lot of other, again, reasons that can hold you up in there. And so we see based on what done took place, they decided they're going to go ahead and do this lawsuit. The lawsuit says that they want the prisons to provide the basic necessities, a place to sleep, because they're saying people are sleeping on the floors. A lot of times you go in the counties, that's what happens now. They're so overcrowded that you got to get your cot on the floor, or you get your bedding on the floor, right? They talking about there's floodings, because again, people clogging up toilets or whatever it might be. So there's flooding going on. There's overflow of raw sewage. They said black mold. Now, mold ain't good at that. That deteriorates your health, right? But again, if somebody already, again, according to the Constitution, said you can be a slave with no rights if you are what? Incarcerated. So again, that's just part of the get down, the way that they look at it. So that's why they don't really care. Again, all I want to say is that they don't really care about us. But they said rat infestation, lack of running water, electricity for days at a time. Now, what kind of facility that's supposed to be an institution that is part of the institution that don't have this? So that would be like slumlording. But in this case, the cargo is really something that we, what I'm saying? If we can breed a way for you to go ahead and knock yourself out, then hey, again, as long as it don't get out, nobody knew. But again, the Creator has his ways of allowing light to shine in situations and areas that people would not have thought about. So we see that they say that these inhumane conditions are unconstitutional. And this is according to what they say, the court papers say. More than 24 plaintiffs named in the suit seek immediate relief from these unconstitutional conditions. Right? So again, somebody sat down and said, hey, this would be a good thing for you to do is go up in there, right? You need to go up in there, Jay-Z, and this may help again with your report. Now, I'm not saying that he's not doing this because it's not the best thing to do. It's not the right thing to do, but Super Bowl coming. You understand? Super Bowl coming, and who's the coordinator? Whose show is this? And who the one they trying to bait to get you back into the game? So this here is in itself is commendable, but then there's some people who feel some kind of way based on the simple fact that what done took place with you. Right? So it's kind of like a damn you do, damn you don't, right? But it's commendable that you're doing this on behalf of, again, streets going to recognize that as what you did, and that's going to give you credit there. So maybe somebody said, You know, held that black corn that damn YouTube talking that woo 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 woo. Nigga, I want the motherfuckers on the street. They got my back. What y'all talking about? You know what I'm saying? You know, chess, this ain't checkers, right? So anyway. So what they saying, they're preparing to pursue legal actions, address these intolerable situations. And the letter goes on to say that the Rock Nation and the philanthropic arm, Team Rock, demand that Mississippi take immediate steps to remedy the intolerable situations, right? And based on the simple fact that you got some star power, and again, bringing light and attention to it, you know, you heard what that Mississippi Phil Bryant governor said, because the report was saying that the gangs is overrunning. He said, well, first of all, that's not true. Well, we got to get the best of the ability that we got, meaning we got staff, we got people working here, but we are understaffed and we're doing the best we can to keep everything, and we are under control. Now, that still doesn't mean that all the other conditions. Now, why would the conditions of no lights, what does that got to do with staffing? No lights ain't got nothing to do with staffing. Water got nothing to do with staffing, right? Ain't got nothing to do with staffing. That's either lack of economics, somebody putting in, or somebody cutting, or somebody is doing this as a way to get at the inmates. It could be a whole lot of things involved in that, right? There'll be a whole lot of things involved in that. And so that's just how that goes, right? And again, for those who, again, like I said, we don't know all the backgrounds. We don't know all the ins and outs about what the situations that took place that caused the brothers to lose their lives, why they was up in it. We don't have all that. We just understand the outcome, the conditions, and what has been now put out. And it is incumbent as we, as family, that many of us will be tied to the blood, because again, we are Black American descendants of slaves of this land, to see these conditions as just really an extension of what happened after the so-called emancipation, and then the clause put into the Constitution that could put you right back in the situation. So if somebody really didn't want you out, but they want a way to get you back in, and you know, to some degree they have been winning when you look at these disproportionate disenfranchised numbers, right? So that's what that is, right? My question is to this, like, you know, Yo Gotti was saying that, you know, having people in there who could be in there for, let's say, things that really are, you know, minute. They're not really as big as they said he is. But I seen this other story, right? First, I'm gonna play this for you. I'm gonna play this, and then we're gonna get to the end of this here. So I'm gonna play this, and I'm gonna be right back. Check this out. Do this and get right back. Are we good? Let's see if we good. We good? There we go.
A Newcastle man's been charged after police found suspected heroin and crack cocaine in his apartment. Police serving a warrant on Devon Johnson when they found baggies containing drugs, a scale, cash, and a loaded handgun.
Federal Drug and Customs agents say they noticed that this container, which came off a ship from South America, showed signs of tampering. And this cell phone video shows them beginning to unload what they found inside. 3,200 pounds of cocaine, 1.6 tons, street value $77 million. The drugs were hidden in 60 packages wrapped in colorful burlap bags, packed into a shipping container of dried fruit. The DEA says it's a sign of a change in the demand for cocaine in the U.S. It peaked a few decades ago, but now drug cartels are pushing to make a comeback, looking to exploit the opioid epidemic.
Cocaine was the nemesis in the 90s, but this is traffickers today trying to merge cocaine and fentanyl to create new markets.
Like other illegal drugs, most cocaine is smuggled into the U.S. across the southern border through checkpoints, and more than 90% comes from Colombia, where American officials say production is surging. And now with the dangerous trend of mixing it with fentanyl, Drug and Customs agents say they expect to find more big cocaine shipments like this one. The DEA says the arrest and conviction of El Chapo, the notorious drug lord, is not changing the business model for other Mexican drug cartels. And as for this shipment, investigators say they're now tracing how it got there and who was involved.
All right, so we are back. Now you say, well, wait a minute, where you get that drug from, Mr. Blow Your Mind? Well, let's put it like this, right? So we're sitting here talking about black men being incarcerated. And when you really think about the poster child for drugs in this country, who's the face, right? You know, they say gang-related and drug-related, right? Those are the two stereotypical ways that you're going to always castigate a black man in this country, right? I seen this story, and I'm going to tie it in before I do the last part to end this show here, is like a lot of brothers that you see in there locked up, most of them are in there for what? Drugs, right? Right? They're in there for drugs, right? And, but let's say it like this. If I show you this, right? Let me go ahead and show you this. Now, a lot of them are in there locked up for drugs, drug possession, drug using, drug selling, drug paraphernalia, right? And got major time. Some of them been in there since probably the 90s, right? So what if, you know, whatever you seen something like this, right? Let me show it to you. Let me show it to you. So I got it up here. You go up there, put it up there for me, sir. All right, check this out. I seen this, right? Right? Did you see that? Did y'all, anybody hear that story? That story? Did y'all hear anything about that? Did anybody hear more than 100 billion pain pills saturated United States over 9 years? I'm gonna say that again. More than 100 billion pain pills saturated U.S. over 9 years. Huh? 100 billion. Huh? 100 billion. Huh? That's big. Isn't that big? That 100 billion in 9, what is that? 10 billion a year? Huh? Or more? 10 billion they pushing 10. Now wait a minute. Now I showed you that clip. I showed you the video where they showed some little street, you know, in the case of this. Now again, you know, you out there, you making that hustle, making that money. Money is money, right? But I'm saying, compared to this right here, this right here, that ain't nothing. This is crumbs. This is real crumbs compared to this here, huh? That's crumbs. And guess what? Let me tell you what it talked about in this article. It said that the federal drug data has showed that more than 100 billion doses of Oxycontin and I think it's hydrocodone, right, was shipped nationwide from 2006 to 2014. They said 24 billion more doses of highly addictive pain pills than previously known to the public. It said data which traced the path of every pain pill shipped in the United States shows that the extent to which opioid flooded the country as death from the epidemic continued to climb over 9 years. The Washington Post and the company that owns the Charleston Gazette Mail in West Virginia first obtained the data collected by the Drug Enforcement Administration from 2006 through 2012 after waging a year-long legal fight in July. The Post reported that the data revealed that the nation's drug companies had manufactured and distributed more than 76 billion pain pills. 2 additional years worth of information from 2013 to 2014, recently posted by a data analytics company managed by a lawyer for the plaintiff in a massive lawsuit against the opioid industry. In excess of 100 billion pills is simply jaw-dropping. Yes, sir. Peter Mogay, a lawyer for the plaintiff for the Pensacola, Florida, the data demonstrates that every community in the country has been negatively impacted. It's dinner time, y'all. The newly released data, which traced the path of pills from the manufacturers and distributors to pharmacies across the country, confirm again that 6 companies distributed the vast majority of the pain pills. McKesson Corp., Cardinal Health, Walgreens, AmerisourceBergen, CVS, and Walmart accounted for 76% of the OxyContin hydrocodone pills that were shipped between 2006 and 2014. I don't need to say no more, right? Now, they told you that McKesson Corp., Cardinal Health, Walgreens, AmerisourceBergen, CVS, and Walmart accounted for 76% of them 100 billion pain pills of OxyContin and OxyContin hydrocodone, right? And all the deaths that came within that 9-year period. Did you see a drug bust? Did you see a nigga in handcuffs? No. Nobody goes to jail. Nobody. But the street nigga can go to jail in those conditions, but they could do that shit all day long. Ain't no going to jail. Because why? Oh, this licensed. This legal. What you doing? Because we don't get our cut. Right? Ain't that about something? 100 billion and ain't a nigga in jail nowhere. But we gonna pay out some money to the people who did die, though. We gonna get some money to that, though. We ain't finna go to no jail, because we above that, right? We got enough paper not to go to jail. So we sold 100 billion in pain, OxyContin. Oh, we got monies. Money ain't the problem, right? Money never gonna be the problem. But see, that's just the difference. Again, people may see a situation and see black people incarcerated, but they be the face of something that's way bigger than them. They just be the patsy. They be the front. So we're going to put the blame on you here while we doing all this shit over here. So, yeah, right, 100 billion. Keep that in your head, right? That's wild, man. Huh? So, let's get on to the end here, right? Right, so that's what you came here for, right? Right, think about that. So, just what I just showed you there, again, companies sitting here pumping drugs in the country like they have, and guess what? No one goes to jail. Just like they talk about the banks and all that shit, all the money and the fraud and all that shit. Didn't nobody go to jail. But black people sure lost their damn homes. But ain't nobody went to no damn jail. See, the system works according for one, but not the others. And those who are in it, and when you're in it, that's your fucking problem. It's not my problem. You know what I'm saying? It's your problem. So let's look at this, right? And let's see if somebody should happen to hear me and say there's nothing wrong here. There's nothing wrong. So I said a Mississippi man gets 12 years in prison for possessing a cell phone in county jail. Right? Now again, the man's name is Willie Nash. He's 39. He's a married father of 3. He happened to have been in the Mississippi County Jail on a misdemeanor charge, which they will not disclose. somehow Willie, at 39 years old, didn't think that talking to the God, talking about he need, according to what they wrote. Now again, you know, sometimes again, if you've been around for some period of time, you done had mugs say, you know, white police officers who mimicking, you know, trying to act like, you know, they being black and being funny about it. He'll say, well, according to the article, talking about, he say, well, you know, he asked, like, can I get some juice? So it's like, well, I was thinking he was talking about, you know, can he get something to drink? But he gave me a cell phone, right? And so, you know, I was like, oh, well, shit. You know, but again, if you ever had to go through county jail, and you know the process that you go through, right? Dick, doctor, all that, right? It's possible, you know, you gotta take all shit off, you know what I'm saying? Spread your cheek, all that other shit, you know, right? You know, again, understaffed. Motherfucker just trying to do the job, getting niggas up there so he can go back and do what they trying to do. So you can still push shit through, right? It can happen. It can happen. But it didn't specify that, right? So somewhere in that he asked him, so I don't know, was he in, they didn't ever specify he was in the cell, right? And saying he a misdemeanor, so was he just in lockup? Or was he in the process? I mean, I don't get it. But anyway, so the guard took the phone, gave it to a sheriff deputy, they say, right? And when they came back and asked him about the mobile device, he ended up denying it belonged to him. So somewhere behind the bullpen, hey man, nigga, what the fuck on, nigga? You tell that nigga your phone, you know, nigga, we'll give you a felony and shit for that shit, nigga, you can get 15, right? Yeah, I'm gonna try to say that shit to him, right? So he was like, oh, no, it wasn't my phone, right? That wasn't my phone, right? Then eventually what he did is he gave the deputy the password to unlock it. So somewhere he like, fuck it, okay. He didn't make them go through it, because I guess he figured if he more work they ain't gonna have to do it, then we're gonna be worse on for him. So according to the court document states that he was using the phone to text his wife that he was in jail. Now, is that in the process? You understand? Is this him about to give his clothes, his street clothes? You know, you get all your shit and then you know, put it back, and then you get your doc, you get your DOC. Is that what that was? And you know what I'm saying? And so, according to Mississippi law, prohibits inmates in correctional facilities from possessing a cell phone. In correctional facility, they're going to use that term, in correctional, so that means as long as you're inside the facility, this law substantiates the jurisdiction of us applying this shit to you, right? And so, accordingly, it's a felony offense with sentence to 3 to 15 years. That's according to the court documents say, right? Now, in August of 2018, what you end up having is, you said the jury found Nash guilty of breaking the cell phone law. So the judge sentenced him to 12 years in state prison. I'm going to say that again. Jury found him guilty, and the judge sentenced him to 12 years. The judge had told Mr. Nash that he had better consider himself lucky, because given his past burglary convictions, he could have received the maximum 15-year sentence. Oh, we gave you a break, boy. You know, you could have did the whole 15. I was being lenient with you and gave you 12 for a cell phone, right? So we see that originally the brother Nash did not appeal the verdict. But what he did is he challenged his sentence. And accordingly, he said it was grossly disproportionate to the crime and violated the United States Constitution 8th Amendment, which forbids cruel and unusual punishment. Now, thing is, did he have his attorney, or did he have a right public defender, right? I had that public defender, right? So we see on January 9th, what ended up happening is Mississippi Supreme Court affirmed Nash's conviction and sentence. So Mississippi Supreme Court stamped to prove that according to the online jail records, according they said based on the documents what we had, that we was able to look at this case on, we had substantiated what they gave us, and everything was exact in the fact. And so here he was in 2018. Now they expected him to be released February 2029. And so the Justice James D. Maxwell II, he was the one writing for the court. Now he said in the court's document, while Nash's sentence of 12 years was harsh, but it fell within the statutory range for the offense. So yes, it's harsh, but it's not like they overdone it. Well, how can you if you got 3 to 15 and you're going to give me 12? See, you can make a square peg fit in a round hole when it's convenient for you, even though, you know, you admit it's gross, that it's unfair, it's harsh, but it's within the rules of the game. You know what I'm saying? That's just the way it is. So we see that another justice, Leslie D. King, had wrote an opinion. And while he agreed with the courts reached the correct result under the law, he had concerns that the case demonstrated a failure of our criminal justice systems on multiple levels. I'm going to say that again. Now, another justice, Leslie D. King, he had wrote an opinion. He agreed with what the court reached. Again, law is law, right? We don't stick to that. But in the humanity aspect of it, that he felt like it's a fair of our criminal justice system on multiple levels. Because now the brother felt like, you know what I'm saying? Anyway, I'm going with this. I'll talk about that. What the Judge King, who wrote that opinion, pointed out, and then the officer testified in that the Nash case, that all inmates being booked into jail are strip searched, right? And again, a lot of us, again, you done been up in there, you know how they do that, right? Old call, you know, spread, all that good shit, right? And Nash went into the jail with a large smartphone that would have been impossible to hide during a strip search. So they saying, was it a lack there of authorities and, you know, provision by those who would have been there when he was going through process? And so it seems problematic to potentially allow someone in jail with a cell phone and then to prosecute that person for such an action. So you gave him 12, so I guess you gave the 3 because they said, well, yeah, y'all was fucked up. But we're going to hold you to 12, right? But he got to do a quarter of that, so maybe, you know, he got to do 4 of that, right? And so, same King who did the role, he said that because the crime was victimless, the prosecutor and the court have taken the rehabilitative approach instead of handing down a sentence. They could have took the I'm tongue-tied because I'm hungry, y'all. I'm sorry about that. Rehabilitative approach. You didn't have to sit the man and give the man 12. He told his wife, you read the text. You see with the wife, he said, I'm in jail. Where you at? Man, to come bail me out. You said he on a misdemeanor, but somebody seen the situation was like, nah, not you. Remember Enter the Dragon when Jim Kelly was on his way, he had just left his school, right? And then he had his TWA bag, he was in the alley and the police car drove up on him. And then he was like, hey, Jig, where you going? And he was like, he didn't say nothing. He had a passport in his hand. He took the passport. He said, this Jig's trying to go to Hawaii. And the other guy like, no, he's not. And what Jim Kelly had to do to get to Hong Kong, to get up there, to get killed up there and put an acid in. You understand? So that's what happened. Maybe that happened. He had a light sense. See, he's going to get up out of there, seen the phone, like, we're going to stick it to him, right? We need some more seats in this palace up in here, right? So they hit him with the 12-piece, right? Hit his ass with a straight 12-piece, right? And so Based on, again, it's a victimless crime. And the case lends themselves to an interpretation that crime was accidental and likely caused by failure in booking procedures. But they didn't take that into consideration. Because why? Look at the data. The data says what? 62% African Americans in this country are incarcerated, but yet they're only 13%. So niggas are commodity. So guess what? We need another nigga in another seat. You know what I'm saying? And let's get it. Here we got us one. I got us one for 12. Who knows if there's kickback? It might be kickback. You get a nigga in here on some petty shit like that, right? Because you would think that, man, you know you ain't probably had no phone, nigga. Do you want to get this fella? But nah, if I ain't got no feeling, don't give 2 cents shit about you, don't give a fucking nigga. I got me, caught me one. When I get drunk and shit, we're going to tell you, this, they ask me, can I get some juice? Some juice and shit, right? Right? So, based on that cell phone incident, this brother here got it. But see, just go to show you there was so much going on in Mississippi that somehow the creator put the light to shine up over there and said, you know what? Enough shit over here. So we're going to put the spotlight over here, make it clean up a little bit. Y'all got a lot of things going over here that just don't rub a lot of people in the right way. And especially, I don't like it. So let's go ahead and bring this out. He need a situation, try to clear his name up. He got some money to take it. They got a good case. All the things that's fitting. So guess what? You're gonna capitulate to this, right? You're gonna capitulate. So, again, that's just how it is, y'all. And again, I'm fighting over what I had to get through to get this done. I did it anyway because I didn't want to stay too long. But I want to thank each and every one of you for coming over here, listen to what I had to put out here today. Give me your comment, your thoughts, your like, your dislike, subscribe, share, comment, all that good stuff. Again, you know who I am. I'm the most hated show in the black corner of the internet. So let's go ahead and get up out of here, y'all. I got to go eat. I'm hungry. So, again, I want to thank each and every one of you for clicking on the video. Again, go ahead and subscribe. They slowly taking each and every one of my subscribers away. They trying to kill. Let me tell you something else out here. If anybody been noticing that one of the shows that was some of the shows that you've been watching in the black corner that's slowly dissipating away. Because why? They bringing in the corporate shows. They're bringing in the shows to combat what the black corner had been doing. So what they're going to do is use black actors and all that stuff and the professionals, which I don't have no problem with that. But if you got us around, they would find out that they really couldn't compete. Because who more closer to the ground than they is? I'm not going to say all of them can't relate, but there's some of them that just don't have what it takes. So sometimes, when they try to tell you free market, sometimes competition ain't good. So guess what happens? People going to get bumped. Guess what I'm trying to do? I'm trying to weather this storm. So I'm going to need some support from y'all. So you need to do what y'all need to do to keep me in business. Otherwise, I'll just be over here talking to myself. Some of you might think I'm crazy any damn way. That's teacher's own. So again, when you see your brother, what's good, brother? See your sister, what's good, sister? If you can't do that much, just give a universal nod. You know how we do it. Right? Understand, we are living in a day and time in a crossroad where some people are seeking for our demise. So it is incumbent that each and every one look out for one another in any form and fashion way that you can feel fit. If it's not economically, it might just be your presence, it might just be your attention, it might just be the nod, it might just be the wink, it may be something that gets somebody through the day. So, tell you, man, you don't know what I did to do to fight to get this, because I just couldn't, but I did it. Anyway, peace, love. To the next show, y'all. To the next show.